Okay, so today's video we're going to show you about a crazy adventure we had with towing our 12.5 ton catamaran with 5 dinghies.
So essentially what happened was, after our first haul out, we went back into the water to a marina slip where we thought we'd stay for just a couple of weeks. That actually ended up turning into, I don't know, almost 2 months, I guess.
2 months, yeah.
2.5 months maybe. We stopped keeping track. But in that time frame, while having some work done, we realized that we had to have our motors removed to fix a sail drive issue on one and a crank seal issue on the other, which, given that our engines had probably 6,000 plus hours, considering that's when the engine hour meter stopped counting, that it didn't make sense to take the engines out of the boat, not rebuild them, and put them back into the boat just to fix other problems. So we decided to pull the engines out while at the dock, take them over to the engine shop where they're going to be serviced and rebuilt, with our understanding at the time that they're going to be put back in the motor, or back in the boat
On the dock.
on the dock. So after the engines were removed and they started working on them, they realized that one of the sail drives had to be removed as well. So it didn't make sense to put the engines back in, to drive to a boatyard to haul out, to then remove the engines again just to take the sail drive out. So we opted to tow the boat
Okay,
To
our
the-
huge boat
to the boatyard, which was 1.5 nautical
Yeah.
miles away,
through a bridge,
through
all of the sunken ships from Irma, all the other boats that are out there doing their things, the mega yachts. I mean, it was wild.
Yep. So we basically recruited some of our good friends, Coco Zen, Ben and Angel.
Ben and Angel. We had Gypsy, Trav and Stephanie.
Our friend that we made in the area, Connell, who's been a huge help to us working on the boat.
Shout out to Connell.
And they were all willing to pitch in and hook up their
Oh my
dinghies
gosh.
at the risk of sinking their boat, I guess.
Or, I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. But it was nice that they were willing to help, and so we devised a loose, unorganized plan, hitched up 5 dinghies, and got underway.
Yep.
So the video you're about to watch doesn't quite capture the whole event because we were scrambling most of the time trying to...
I couldn't film everything. I was trying to be support, so.
Yeah, so we have some footage that we're going to share. We're going to do some explaining as well. There's kind of an overview. But the gist of the story is we used 5 dinghies to tow a 12.5 ton catamaran 1.5 nautical miles through a causeway bridge with no engines.
Yeah, we're so grateful for our friends who helped us. If we didn't have our 5 dinghy friends, we would be, I don't know, in the rocks.
Two dinghies. It would have been 2 dinghies, 1 catamaran, and a huge insurance claim.
Yeah.
So we lucked out. All went well. There could have gone a lot smoother. Could have been more planning on the front end. And at the end of the video, we'll go into a little explainer on what we learned, and for those that are in our situation, what you probably should do instead of what we did.
Yes.
So enjoy the video, stay tuned, and at the end we'll go in depth on basically what we would do if we had to do it again. So enjoy.
Enjoy.
For those of you who've never been to St. Martin, it's an island in the Caribbean. St. Martin has a lagoon that is sheltered from the ocean that has 2 entrances. One, the Simpson Bay Bridge crossing here, which is where the majority of the mega yachts come through, and then take up all these dock slips here, all these dock slips over here, and then some will even anchor out in the anchorage here. And in high season, there's anywhere from 20 to 30 mega yachts at any given time in all these slips, sometimes more, depending on if there's a event or a holiday. And the other entrance into the lagoon is over here at Sandy Ground Bridge, which is a narrow little inlet that probably accommodates a 30-foot beam or less. So none of the big boats come through there, and they all hang out in the lagoon over here. Here's the causeway bridge that we had to traverse that essentially connects the airport to the main road here that then runs down and around the lagoon. So our adventure started over here at Island Water World on a stern tie. We used the dinghies to pull the boat out of the slip, which once doing so, we were fully committed. There are a bunch of boats docked along here that doesn't quite show up on the map here, but they extend out almost as far as this dock here. So we had to finagle our way out of there, out here into the lagoon, where we then weaved our way through all these mega yachts and narrow waterways over towards the Causeway Swing Bridge that was supposed to open at 3:30. We arrived for the opening around 3:20 or so and began circling and radioing the bridge operator, notifying him of our passage, who then showed up 7 minutes late to finally open the bridge. And while we were over here doing so, another boat came along and dropped anchor in the fairway right around here, claiming that it was too shallow and he didn't have a choice. So he's anchored here. We're over here towing the boat in a holding pattern, waiting on the bridge until the bridge finally opens. Once the bridge opens, we opened up our head sail again, sailed through the bridge and over onto the French side. And on the French side, there's an anchorage here, just on the other side of the causeway, where a lot of liveaboards are. So people just throw out anchors haphazardly and in a pretty tight pattern, so you don't have a lot of room to maneuver, which is tricky if you're being towed by dinghies. So we made our way through here until we made it over around the bend here, which put us head into the wind, so we had to pull back in the head sail and crank the dinghies back up to motor us all the way up here, past the sandy ground bridge entrance, over to the Jaminga yard where we had the work done. It was quite the adventure.
Okay, we're in the heat of our adventure here, trying to get through this bridge. We're trying to get the bridge to open. We have radioed to them. There's Connell. This is Joe helping. We've got Stephanie and David with our bridle, keeping us from blowing all over the place. And we've got our two friends on the stern. We've got Travis and Ben here helping us in the rear. Say hello, I like the caboose.
Nice caboose.
The caboose. Okay, the bridge operator has responded. They're going to be opening the bridge and we're going to be pushed along by our 5 dinghy friends. We got Stephanie here giving full throttle, and Ben's wakeboarding and giving full throttle. This is our power back here. We have all of our lines out. We're heading to this, you can see that red lift there. That's the boatyard that we're going to. Everybody's on the back with their dinghies, giving us this momentum. We are heading into the wind, so we cannot use our sails. So far so good. We made it. We're so grateful for all of our friends to helping us make it on. We're gonna have some celebratory beers. Woohoo! We made it into the dock. We will be lifted out tomorrow. So we are officially on the French side. We're having some celebratory drinks with all of our mates who helped us with this crazy voyage. but we're feeling grateful. For the most part, it went really smooth.
Alright, well, for those of you who are still watching, you've made it to the portion where we do a little explainer on the things we did wrong and the things we would do differently if we were to do it again. As the captain of the vessel, you have a lot of responsibility on your shoulders in a situation like that. You have to worry about the safety of the crew, the safety of the vessel, and also the safety of others around you. So, thinking back now, we probably should have devised a more firm plan, came up with better options, and executed. Luckily for us, we didn't have any issues regarding any injuries of the vessel or the crew on board or the others on the water that day, and we're thankful for that. Looking back, hindsight's always 20/20, and it's easy to sit and diagnose what you should have done in the moment after that moment's already passed. However, we didn't have that luxury at the time, and we didn't know what we didn't know, so we just went along and tried our best option that we thought was hooking up 5 dinghies to a 12.5 ton boat and towing it. So basically, if we were to do it again, our first option would be to seek out a tow vessel to see about getting towed with an actual professional crew and a vessel big enough to do so. If you're in the situation where that isn't an option for you, if we were to use 5 dinghies again to do this job, we would have attached 2 dinghies at the stern from the dock, 2 dinghies on the midship, and then had 1 out front towing. That way you get better control on your side to sides and you get better forward thrust. When we first left the dock, we essentially had 1 dinghy tied off the bow and 4 dinghies roving that were just kind of shoving the boat with their bows unattached to our boat. And it didn't really, it would temporarily work, but then when the wind would gust, it would shove us, the wind would take over and the dinghies just couldn't compensate given the weight differences. So we found ourselves kind of scrambling as we came out of the slip. And once we left the slip, we really were fully committed because there was no way we were going to get the boat back into the slip after we already set off the dock. So we get out of the marina and we get out into the open part of the lagoon there where the wind really started gusting on us and pushing us around. So we became kind of adrift, and then thankfully Travis from Gypsy ran up to the helm where I was and helped me get the head sail out. And then we got a little bit of the head sail out to put some forward momentum on the vessel while the dinghies more or less guided us side to side. As we came to the causeway, we got there a little bit early and the bridge wasn't open yet, so we had to devise what we were going to do, which what we did was just use the dinghies to kind of pull us around, where at that time we hooked 2 dinghies to our stern, which ended up being there for the duration, which became essentially our engines, which was what we should have done from the dock. So if you find yourself in a towing situation of a catamaran, be sure to at least put 2 of them on the inside of your sugar scoops at the stern and tie them tight to the cleats. That way they'll act essentially as motors. Also, what we should have done is not towed the boat 1.5 nautical miles to the boatyard using dinghies at all. That in itself was a huge liability given the waterway we had to traverse, going through the bridge and past all those big boats. At any given time, there could have been a major incident that could have caused a lot of headache and possibly injury. All things you want to avoid while you're on a boat. So looking back, if we had to do it again, like I said, we'd probably seek out a professional towboat to tow us, which why at the time, I don't know, we didn't do that. The guy that was rebuilding our engines for us, I guess, made us feel overconfident in his abilities of what was happening, which, as you'll see in the videos, there wasn't any. And once we left the slip, it was kind of just, make it work, because there was really no option after that other than dropping anchor in the middle of the lagoon. So, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you took away a lesson from this, And if you find yourself in that situation, be sure to come up with a better plan than just pulling off the dock and sorting it out as you go, because as you can see, that wasn't the best option, even though it worked for us. Thanks for watching.